there are a couple of things that I see from my own work on three-dimensional anatomical models that I think are worth thinking about, and things that I certainly would be very curious about for the digital futures that we investigate. So one thing I see looking at anatomical models is that as technologies, they're ultimately the product of complex networks and a wide range of individuals and communities rather than single creators, makers, authors. So for instance, one of the case studies that I looked at was that of a very early science museum in the 18th century, where anatomical models were made, and the man in charge of the project, the museum director, very much considered himself as the sole author of these artificial bodies. He also envisioned an ideal user, and ultimately imagined an encounter between user and technology that would almost automatically bring about individual understanding and ultimately some form of public enlightenment when those encounters were scaled up. So for him, having this technology done the way he as the author envisioned it, putting it together with a user would, almost, without any mediation, bring about the creation of the enlightened citizen. But of course, in practice, it was a lot more complicated than that. There was a lot more resistance. There was a lot more flexibility in the way that users responded to these technologies. And of course, the other thing that we see looking at the record is the models did not emerge fully formed from the head of the director who assumed authorship. On the contrary, these three-dimensional models of bodies required the collaboration of a wide range of people: artists, anatomists, draftsmen, seamstresses, carpenters, janitors, and dogs' bodies, with very complex relationships between them, as well as very different sets of goals and values that had to be worked out in order for this new technology to come into being and to remain in active use. So I think one question that I would like to raise, and one thing that I would like to learn more about, is about the nature of these networks in the case of digital technologies. So who are the carpenters, the seamstresses, and janitors of the digital world, and how do they relate to the people who claim authorship?